Hello everybody, this is Ina here. I'm trying to get my little setup straight here so you don't see other cameras on top of other cameras because I got like 3 devices going on here. Alright, so hi everybody. So every so often I like to do what I call a spy report. And I post these on LinkedIn. And the spy report is basically going out and telling all of my corporate former coworkers, former acquaintances, everybody who's still working in the, full-time structure world, what things are like on the entrepreneurial side. So I call these spy reports because it's like, like I'm a spy because I used to be all corporate and now I'm on this side. So I'm telling you what life is like on the other side. So what I wanted to tackle today was the topic of hobbies versus working on something that will eventually replace your salary and become your full-time job. And this is a really tough one to explain because when you are in corporate, you are very comfortable. And there's no really other way to say it. You are being taken care of, like you have your salary, you have your healthcare benefits. And not only that, I'm not talking like, somebody's cuddling you. I'm talking like these are real life needs, right? Like you need your salary, you need your healthcare, you're taking care of your family, you're putting food on the table. So your life is pretty much like set, right? So it is very difficult to go from a place where everything is secure to thinking that you could be working for yourself, right? Because as I tell everyone, when you start a business, plan for, I'm going to moisturize at the same time, plan for not making any money, for a little while, right? Because, starting a business, it takes setup. But of course, it all depends on what you prioritize. It's not true what they say that it takes money to make money. And it's not true that you have to wait, a whole year to start making money. It depends on your priorities. In my business, I decided to prioritize content, right? Creating an online community, creating an online space where I can, tell you all about entrepreneurship and tell you about how to start businesses, all that stuff. That's what I prioritized. Some of my clients, they decide to prioritize actually getting clients. So I coach them through that. Okay, if getting clients is your main concern and you don't even have a website, these are the things you need to be doing right now. And it takes time, right? But in a couple months, you'll be in a better place, all right? But it does take courage and it does take having the stomach to take risks, right? So what I wanted to talk to you about today was that piece, was how do you go from hobby mode to this is what I'm going to be doing with my life mode? Because it's very different, all right? In one, because you're so secure in your full-time job, anything else that you do seems like gravy. It's like it's nice to have. It's it's your side project. It's something you do on the side, which is cute and nice, maybe even looks good on resume, but you don't think of it as, yes, this is my ticket out, right? You wish it was, and you kind of like give it its own personality and its own life, right? You like look at it and you're like, yeah, I hope that someday you will grow and you will pull me out of corporate. Are you going to do that? Yeah, I'll just wait and see if you grow, all right? And you know what ends up happening? That doesn't work. Because that thing doesn't just grow. That thing doesn't just take off. One real big downside of there being, access to the entire world 24 hours a day and us being all the consumers being very laser focused on things that are unique and rare and shiny and interesting is that it makes all of those things that are unique, shiny, and interesting, it gives them way too much attention. So it makes our brains believe that that is the norm. So when we see people winning the lottery, it makes us want to go out and get a lottery ticket. You're not thinking about the trillion people who also bought a ticket that didn't get anything and haven't been getting anything for 20 years, right? We think that's possible, right? So we hear about really big success stories. We hear about Mark Zuckerberg dropping out of Harvard to start this little startup, and now it's the biggest company in the world, right? We hear about these things and we're like, ooh, like that could be me. Like things could just take off, right? I can just like plant a seed over here, and while I'm not looking, it's just going to take off. It's just going to go viral, right? Sadly, that is not the norm. That is 0.5% of the cases. So if there's 100 of you watching this video right now, half of one of you, right? So let's make that a little bit better. Out of the 200 people watching this, maybe one person will do. Actually, that seems still extremely high, right? Going viral is not an easy thing. It's not something that is just going to happen. It's not something you should be banking on. It's not something you should be relying on. Your hobby is not going to all of a sudden get a life of its own and then make you money. And then you're like, okay, great. I guess I can just quit my job now. It's not how it works. All right. So that's why, when I come and talk about the spy reports, I talk about this not being a get rich quick scheme situation, because that's what people think it is. Like, oh, you're going to give me all the tools so that I can just plant that seed and it's just going to take off. It's just something's going to happen. It's like, no. When you become an entrepreneur, you're using all the same skills that you're using in corporate. The same skills that you use in your full-time job. Those skills are going to transfer to this, which means that when you quit your job, right, to work on this, you're still working just as hard or even harder. But the only difference is that now you're working towards something that you have full control over. If that means something to you, then that's appealing. If that doesn't mean anything to you, you're like, that sounds like a waste of time. Keep your job, right? So I'm just speaking to people. Sorry, this is making noise here, my button. So I'm speaking to people for whom this sounds like an appealing thing, right? Like that you look at me in my new office. What do you think? In my new office, right on the 3rd floor of my house, going live, and this type of lifestyle seems interesting to you. You're like, oh, I wish I were doing that. I wish on a Wednesday at 10 in the morning I had, my baby sleeping in the crib downstairs while I'm going live and talking to a community of folks who want to hear from me. That sounds great, right? Well, that's my job, and I love it. I love doing this. This used to be my hobby when I was in corporate. I'm on my 3rd podcast at this point. I would just spin up a podcast. I would spin up a website. Whenever I had an idea, I would do it. But all of those failed miserably, flat-faced, down. Like it did. None of them took off. None of them went viral. Even though that's what I was thinking. I'm like, I'm gonna start this podcast, and people are gonna fall in love with listening to my voice. Right? People are gonna fall in love with me, and that thing is just going to make me rich. You guys, I had 45 episodes and they're all gold. That did not make me rich. Okay, so what I'm coming here to tell you is hobbies are different from jobs. Okay, and that sounds so obvious, but in our minds, we don't think about it that way. So I'm gonna tell you what really made the difference for me. How did I flip a switch? And the answer is going to surprise you. Okay, because it's not usual. I didn't even know that was an option when I was working full time, and I've had a business since 2011. That was my first maternity leave break, and that's the first time that I started my business. Is in a nutshell, I was making websites. At that time, I had no idea about building an audience, about providing valuable content. I had no idea about any of that. That was not a thing, and I feel like I wasted 7 years of my life thinking small, dreaming really small, just saying, oh, if I can just get a few $100s a month, that's nice, right? That's cool. It's something that makes me feel good. I wasn't thinking big enough. I wasn't thinking, well, what is it that you want to do with your life? Well, in truth, what I want to do with my life is I want to create a platform so that I can speak to other corporate people, speak to other women who are in the same situation, who have a full-time job and who want to do their own thing. I want to tell them, hey, it's possible, and this is how you do it. You can have a life without regret. That's my thing. Living life without regret, getting to a retirement point and not looking back and being like, why didn't I take care of these things before? Right? Why didn't I start my business when I was younger? Why didn't I hate feeling that way. I hate feeling like I could have started something sooner. Like right now, I kick kick myself for not starting to create an audience and develop content back in 2011 when I started my business. I'm kicking myself. I didn't start learning about this world until maybe 2015 when I heard about Amy Porterfield. Amy Porterfield, she makes courses about making online courses, right? So I started following her, started learning what building an audience is for, what online courses are about, what, being your own personality and having a good online presence is about. I had no idea about any of that. I kicked myself. So that's what these spy reports are for, by the way. These are for you. Nobody's paying me to do these, right? Like, you're not paying me. All of this is free content to you. But that's what this is about, is to tell you what are the things that I did, what are the things that I learned along the way that got my mind to flip from I have my job and I get paid really well and I am taking care of my family and I can take 2 weeks vacation, and which actually was never true, because taking 2 weeks off is not something that can ever happen when you have a full-time job and you can't be replaced. So I'm like, I'm just taking care of it. I just have this little thing on the side, right? So how did I go from that to I'm gonna give this a shot and I'm gonna give this a serious chance to change my life? And when I did that, when I made that decision, I still wasn't thinking that this was going to take off and be a big thing. You know what did it? I saw an ad. I was in bed on a Saturday morning. I'm telling you, like, this is like the origin story for the current iteration of my business. I was lying in bed Saturday morning, 9 a.m. My husband was downstairs with the kids. Rare time that I actually got to sleep longer than anybody else. And I'm in bed and I'm scrolling through like Facebook feeds, which I never do. I actually have it set so that when I go to Facebook, it goes like straight to my notifications, right? Like I have a shortcut that goes straight to my notifications. That's all I really care about. I just turn it on, go to notifications, see if anybody has written, see what's going on, and then I shut it off. I am not the person to like go through a feed, which is why if you've posted something on Facebook, and I probably haven't seen it, and I'm sorry about that. So I was scrolling through. You know what? I wasn't scrolling through Facebook. I was scrolling through my Flipboard, which is a news app on my phone. And it so turns out that the ads on the Flipboard, they can be Facebook ads. That's what happened. I'm like, oh, that sounds so really weird that I'll be looking at people's feeds. It's just not me. It's just not what I do. So I was looking at the news and I see an ad. And it's this girl and it's a picture of her and she's like this. By the way, if you can see this video, I'm actually going like that. As opposed to just listening to it on the podcast or something. So it's a picture of her in an office, like a desk, right? And it's a picture of her in with a coffee mug and like smiling like that. And I'm like, I identify with that, right? I'm at a desk. I don't have a mug, but I understand that people drink coffee, right? I don't drink coffee, but I understand people do. And some people like it. I like milkshakes myself. And the caption said something like, "Hey, girl boss." And by then I had been watching the Netflix show. I was aware of Girl Boss. So I'm like, ooh, that's me. I'm a girl boss. And I said, hey, girl boss, I have a free resource library, complete resource library for all entrepreneurial girl bosses out there. Do you want in? And I'm like, so it's like a freebie. It's like an opt-in ad. And I'm like, yes, please. Click, right? I'm like, let me see. I'm starting this thing. I started hoarding freebies, right? There's a lot of people out there with their opt-in, so I started hoarding them. So I'm like, okay, click, name, email, give me my free library. And the next screen that you see after you sign up is what is called a tripwire, because you're kind of tripping like right over it, right into it. And the tripwire was a mini course. It said, do you want to write killer content? And by that point, I knew that I needed to start providing content to my audience. By the way, I want to acknowledge that Koi has been on the Facebook the entire time. Hi, Koi. It's really nice to meet you. I really hope that this is helpful for you. And say hello if you can hear me. So the Facebook ad, the opt-in. So Tripwire. It was a course that said, hey, if you want to write killer content, I have a course for you, and it's $17. Now, at that point, I had my business for 7 years. I had its own business account, and I had been paying taxes like out the wazoo because I was not spending my business money. because I didn't really have many expenses. I was making websites, and that's pretty much bankrolled by the client, right? They pay their own registrations and they pay their own domain. So I really didn't have a lot of expenses. So I was just paying like taxes on the profits. Like that's all my business money was going to, was paying taxes on itself. So I said, I do need to start writing killer content, and this is $17. My business, I should start using my business money. I can afford $17. And hi, Koi, thank you. Oh, I love it. So I went and I clicked right through. I put in my business credit card and I paid for it. And immediately I was taken aback. I was like, whoa, this girl just got me from having no idea who she was to buying something from her in a matter of 5 minutes. How did she do that? And by then I had been studying online marketing for a couple years. So I was impressed. So the email that I got with the freebie, I replied to it and I'm like, how did you do that? I was an educated consumer, right? I knew what I was looking at. It wasn't the first time I had seen a freebie. I knew what a freebie was. I knew what an opt-in was. I knew how all of this worked, and I was impressed with her. So I sent her back an email. I'm like, how did you do that? How did you do that? And by the way, and I sent her a screenshot of the ad. By the way, for your own, market research, for your own knowledge, this is the ad that I saw that made me click and that made me buy. How did you do that? So she was very kind. Her name is Rachel Ngom, Ngom. Ngom, yeah. And she replied, she was very nice, and she's like, hey, why don't we jump on a call and I can tell you about it? And I'm like, that is great. Let's do that. So I jumped on a call with her, and this was back in December. At this point, actually, I was not planning on quitting my job. I didn't decide to quit my job until the week I got back to work. This was back in December, and I quit in January. So in December, I get on the phone with her, and she tells me, what she does and how she did it. And I'm learning about it. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's great. I love your ad. I love what you did. And she tells me, so I help budding entrepreneurs, like people who are starting out in their entrepreneurial careers. I help them how to do this. This is what I teach. And I'm like, and how much does that cost, right? And she's like, well, this is how much it costs to work with me on a one-on-one basis every month. And to me, that was a lot of money. To me, that was actually, that is exactly how much I make from my business right now. So I would be giving you all of my profits every month. I'm not sure that I'm ready to do that. That sounds like a lot of money. And she said, and so I'm like, you know what? I think it might be best if I just try doing some of this on my own first. And why don't we regroup in 6 months, right? So she was like, we can do that. But let me ask you something. How long have you been trying to get your business off the ground? Really? And I'm like, well, it's been a couple of years since I became aware of Amy Porterfield's podcast, and I started working on my own freebie, which took me a whole year to create, and it never saw the light of day. But I've been wanting to do this for a couple years now. And she tells me, so what do you think is going to be different in the next 6 months? Wouldn't it be better if I could give you all of the tools right now so you can start making money and you can start creating your presence now rather than 6 months from now? And I'm like, that makes sense. And that's when, for me, I can't buy things on the spot. I need to think about it because I don't like being sold to, right? I don't like being told, hey, this is what you need. Buy it now. And she was not being like that at all. She was informing me, this is a service she provides. This is how much it costs. And she knows, she has seen what it's like for people to do it on their own versus having a coach. And the more I learned about the coaching business, the more I realized that everybody has a coach. Even people at the highest levels, because there's always room for growth. So when you hire somebody that is going to guide you, that is, several steps ahead of you, that means that you can move a lot faster. That gets you out of hobby mode and into, oh shoot, I am doing this mode. I am following whatever she's doing. I want that, and I want to do it now. So you meet on a weekly basis and you actually get it done. You have somebody that's keeping you accountable, but that is not all. It's actually knowing what the next steps are and how to do them in what order, and be able to bounce ideas off of somebody who has been there. So everybody in the entrepreneurial world has a coach or a mentor, or they are part of masterminds, and we'll get into that later. They're part of larger groups that they're all doing the same things. And that was the flip. That was the realization that entrepreneurs don't do this all on their own in their corner right here with their light and their orbs and their desk. They actually get out there and meet other people and follow other people and hire help, right? Hire somebody who's going to get them from step 1 to step 2 to step 3. So I ended up working with Rachel, and we had a super productive 6-month run. And after the 6 months, I had tried basically everything that she had given me, and I was ready for something new. So I started joining other group programs, and right now I'm enrolled in a couple of them, because that is how you grow. When somebody is pulling you, when you're constantly learning something new. Right now at this point, I can't imagine doing this on my own without a coach or without guidance, because I would just be adrift. Somebody who has been there already has the tools and already has the framework to pull you up. So that's what I wanted to tell you about. The fact that if you think you're going to be doing this on your own, that you are going to just one day magically make it, that you're planting a seed that will magically go viral and make you rich, that these things just, if it works, it takes off, and that's the norm. That's the recipe for failure right there. That is the recipe for you getting stuck where you are and not moving forward. But if you have a larger vision for your own life, right? If you are thinking, I don't want to be working in my current job forever. I want to do my own thing, and I want to do this seriously. I want to be Ina. I want to be a part of that world where people are helping each other out, where you're buying into programs of other like-minded people who can teach you something new, and who can tell you, this is how you launch a product. This is how you create a product. This is how you find out whether people are going to buy it or not and how much it's going to cost. This is how you do it. Then I would strongly suggest getting a coach, which is, to no surprise to anyone, what I offer. I am a business coach. So I basically do this type of interaction with my clients on a weekly basis, and I get them to the next level and to the next level and to the next level. I help them with creating their website, with creating their content, anything that they need to get them going, so that they're not wondering about this 6 months from now, so that they're starting to do this now and making the money now, so that they can replace your salary, which is why I've had replace your salary seminars, which is why right now this is day 3 of my time challenge, which is to teach people who are currently working full-time how they can get these things done while they're working full-time. Remember, this was my 3rd podcast. I used to get a lot of stuff done while I still had kids, while I still had a job, and it's not a matter of oh, Ina, you're just more driven than I am, or you're just more tech savvy than I am. That has nothing to do with that. If you go through the challenge yourself, you can see that these micro assignments, they work wonders. And if you're like, Ina, but I don't have time, how am I going to take your challenge if you don't have time? Well, you have to make the decision to prioritize this over everything else. I go live every night at 9 o'clock. It doesn't take any more than half an hour. I think the first day was a half an hour. Second day was 15 minutes. It's just me telling you, okay, this is the assignment. This is what you're going to do. And come back the next day. It's like, hey, how did it go? You have the Facebook group to interact with people. So the time challenge is where you should start if you're thinking that you don't know how to find the time. Ina, I don't have time for this. Stop it. I don't have time. Don't you understand that I don't have time? I don't have time. That's what the challenge is for. to open that up. But it's only going to help you if you've decided to prioritize a larger vision of your life for yourself. All right? And today, I opened the doors to working with me one-on-one. It is a program that I call the Star Launcher, and it's because I decided to call it that because it's going to speed up the way that you go from point A to point B, which is creating your online presence. So in my former packages and the clients that I have right now, I don't make their website. I give them guidance. I give them access to the WordPress course that I created, which is a do-it-yourself, step-by-step, full WordPress and website development and website design tutorial. Full course. I give them access to that for free when they sign up to work with me one-on-one, and they walk through the course, and in our meetings we can get together and discuss it. We can do a screen share, we can help each other out this way. But I decided to create the Star Launcher because I see how much time it takes to create a website, especially if you're not the technically savvy person. And not even about technically savvy, if you don't have experience with WordPress, it does take a learning curve, right? But that's something that I've always been able to do so fast. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to create a coaching program where I can guide you step by step. This is what you do. I'm going to cap it at 6 months because I felt like that was a sweet spot, right? When you get from the first month to the last month of the 6 months, you will be in a completely different place than when you started. So your needs will be different. So I decided this is a 6-month program, the Star Launcher. I make your website within the first few weeks. I guide you through idea validation, through market research, to creating your first offer, to going out and getting clients, and I create your online presence based on your input. We work on that together, but I make it, which would be so much faster and so much simpler. So if you are ready to actually do this, the card is open today. So the way that you sign up, you can't really sign up because it takes a lot of time from me to create a website. I needed to be really judicious that I wasn't going to have like 10 clients starting all at once because I can't handle that load, and I want to make sure that I'm respectful to you. So I need this to be by interview, all right? I need to make sure that you are in the right space, that this is exactly what you need, and that you are ready to start so that we can do this together. So to be considered for this program, let's set up a chat. Let's just talk, no strings attached. It's a completely free call where we talk about what are your ideas, what do you want to do, so we can decide whether this is the right step for you or not. And the way you do that is to go to inacoveney.com/calendar and find the spot. Book yourself on my calendar and we'll talk about it and see if this is right for you. We'll talk about the investment that it takes. We'll talk about what the expectations are of the program. We'll talk about what your ideas are, and we'll really customize it for you to see if this is right for you. If that sounds appealing, go there, inacoveney.com/calendar, and book your spot right there. If the time challenge sounds interesting to you, everything I just said about finding time, you still have time to join because all those videos, all those recaps are always going to be there. I'm not going to take them down. So just come and check it out. It's inacoveney.com/time and join the party. I'm doing this in my Facebook group and it's amazing. Everybody's already responding. Like, I love it. So time challenge is still going on. If you're ready to take this to the next level, we can work one-on-one, but we need to talk first. We need to make sure this is actually the right thing for you to do right now. So inacoveney.com/calendar. Super excited about it. I can't wait. And so that's the end of this spy report. I hope you found it helpful. And I am very excited to open the cards to this program, to the Star Launcher. I mean, it's going to be amazing. I can't wait to see the transformation of the people who sign up. I can't wait. And I can't wait to work with you one-on-one. That'd be amazing. All right. I think that's all I had for you. I hope that sounds good. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday. All right. Talk to you later, guys.